Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Kiwi ear quintets and all my thoughts and opinions on these IEMs and if I think they're worth the price tag. So to start, I just want to say thank you, Kiwi ears, for sending these IEMs out. As you guys know, I try to be as unbiased and unopinionated as possible, and that doesn't matter who sent the product. So to start, I want to go over just the general shape of the IEMs. Going over the general shape of the IEMs, you are getting that really nice deep groove in here that kind of cups your ear in a really comfortable way. It is a standard triangle shaped design, as a lot of IEMs are, and you are getting a standard 2-pin connector. The nozzle is relatively deep. I would compare the shape similarly to IEMs like the Super Mix 4s. They're not as deep as IEMs like the Tekusai Lucids, but they are very comfortable in ear and I had no complaints with them. Next, we need to talk about what comes inside the box. As you guys know, a lot of IEMs come with a lot of cool customization things, and the quintets are no different. Compared to IEMs like the high-dies MS3s or MS2s, they aren't as customizable. When you open up the box, it is very straightforward. You do get a ear tip kit alongside a carrying case, a cable, and a user's manual, but it's just not as customizable as other IEMs I have tried. Going over into the sound quality, I genuinely really enjoyed these IEMs. They were probably some of my favorite sounding IEMs I've tried within the last year. They have this really nice clarity and brightness to them without being too fatiguing on the ears. Compared to IEMs like the Padsmith IEMs that recently came out from Padsmiths, they just have a lot of clarity to them without getting fatiguing over multiple hours. When you're listening to a lot of vocal-based music, especially well-mixed vocal music, it's just incredibly clear. Probably the clearest I've ever heard vocals in music ever, especially when compared to IEMs like the Tekusai Lucids or the Super Mix 4s, where those are really nice and low-end heavy. The Tekusai Lucids are a lot warmer of an IEM, while the Super Mix 4s are a little bit brighter but significantly more bassy. Going into the quintets, I was more expecting something along those lines, so going into them blind, not knowing the actual tuning, it was a very pleasant surprise. Songs like Hotel California by the Eagles is probably one of my favorite songs to test with these because the guitars are very nice and bright, they're sparkly, it has a lot of percussive elements going on the sides, and the vocals are mixed relatively well from a song from the 60s, and it just sounds crystal clear on these IEMs, and I absolutely love them for listening to music. When it comes to mixing and mastering music, that's where I kind of feel these fell apart. That's just because they're a little bit too colored, they're a little bit too bright, and the low ends aren't super prevalent, so when you're actually mixing music, I tend to overcompensate the lows a little bit, which is why I like using my HD6XX for mixing music. They're just kind of like my default mixing headphones. But these did do a good job when mixing vocal-based music like this Eurodance song I'm currently working on. You can hear that the vocals are very prevalent, and that's very much due to how clear the vocals are in these IEMs. When I listen back to it on my other headphones, they were still really nice and clear in my mix, but they are just like, these headphones are meant for people who love vocals. Going into gaming, I didn't have a problem with them gaming. I'm personally not gaming as much as I used to, so I'm very much a washed Valorant player, but these did substantially well. They're still not as good as other IEMs like the Tekusai Lucids. I love these for gaming. They're probably some of my favorite gaming IEMs out at the time, or even going down to a more budget category like the SimGod EW300s, which are still my favorite IEM, just period, at sub $100. These did completely fine, but because that more vocal lift in it, you do not hear footsteps as prevalent. As you know, footsteps are around that like 100, 200 range, where they're not super low end, but they're definitely in that pocket where these IEMs just don't really like boost it. But that should be all. Hopefully I did go over everything. I'm still getting used to reviewing IEMs. I don't have any real technical stuff to do it. So if you do have any thoughts on these IEMs, please leave in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear your guys' opinions. And do I recommend these IEMs? They are the IEM if you're looking for something that just makes music sound incredible. If you just want something that makes music sound really good and it's just engaging, and every time you sit there listening to a song, it's like you're hearing new things for the first time, and songs you've heard probably 100, 200 times. These are definitely the IEMs for that. They're probably my favorite when it comes to listening to music, but when it comes to mixing music, I do still prefer to use over-ear headphones, or I will always go back to something a little bit more neutral in terms of IEMs. These are just a bit too colored for me, and I'm not the biggest fan of how they do when it comes to mixing music. And for gaming, if you just want something that's a great all-rounder, you don't really care about the super pinpoint accuracy in gaming, these are great. but I would still recommend IEMS like the Take Lucid's, which also come with a competitive EQ app that can actually enhance the way they sound. I would still go for those for gaming compared to the Quintets. The Quintets are really a music lover's dream IEM, especially as they're super easy to power. I was able to power them with a dongle to my phone. Now they are a little bit quieter because they do take a little bit more power, but you can still appreciate them a lot on the mobile, or including like a mobile DAC if you don't have something like an S9 Robin from Hide Eyes. But that should be all. Leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Leave a comment, I'm sure you will. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one.